think most people use Twitter kind of as a, water cooler conversation. It's a place to just put random thoughts. And I'm using Twitter for storytelling.
The words you just heard were said by Teju Cole, who wrote the controversial piece about Africa and how white people view the land as a place to be a hero.
Anytime race is involved in an argument, there's always going to be a muddled picture. When looking at what Teju Cole said in his lengthy article, he does present a lot of valid points. However, I feel like his argument uses exactly what he didn't want, and that's being racially charged. He seems to be pretty irate about the white savior complex. Midway through his story, he says, "One song we hear too often is the one in which Africa serves as a backdrop for white fantasies of conquest and heroism." Sure, he probably sees that as being true and a valid argument point, but he's unfairly grouping people who volunteer in Africa as white egos who want to be godlike saviors. While his views and thoughts on the whole Africa ordeal are racially charged or simply out of frustration in the heat of the moment, his take on today's society and the notion of freedom of speech really rings some truth. He mentions that there is an expectation that we can talk about sins, but no one must be identified as a sinner. In other words, if someone is racist, they are expected to admit their flaw, but at the same time, being a racist is something no one can afford to be labeled as. It's unfair, and unfortunately, that's how our society is nowadays. So overall, despite his article being littered with racial outcries, there are multiple valid points he discusses that do speak volumes in regards to our community.
Soren Kierkegaard is considered the father of existentialism. He was against the press because he thought they manipulated the opinions of society. Morozov discusses Kierkegaard in his article because he would be appalled by the use of slacktivism, or in other words, a form of online activism where the user doesn't really care for the matter. He or she just simply does it because everyone else is. As Morozov puts it, people do it to impress other people and their friends. Morozov describes slacktivism as being a campaign where the more people there are, the better, and in turn, the more likes or followers, the better. This was very prevalent when it came to Kony 2012, as you all were exposed to. Many of your friends, and maybe even yourself, were posting statuses and tweets about stopping Kony simply because everyone else was doing it, and it was kind of like the cool thing to do. It took no effort to type up a 140-character tweet and just show the world that, quote-unquote, we cared about the issue. Yet the majority of these people didn't take any further action in the case.
Darfar's Dying and Kony 2012 are both attempts at promoting activism, but I believe that they are both clicktivism and slacktivism. I say this because there is no doubt that both of these depict instances of tragedy and cruelty on the other side of the world, but we must remember that it is on the other side of the world, and it is unrealistic to think that just a Facebook status or a tweet promoting awareness for either of these will really have any effect on the outcome. I mean, I remember when Kony 2012 came out on YouTube, and everyone was really excited about it and was really trying to promote awareness, but in the end, most people truly forgot about, the real reason and just got caught up in the video. And in the other part of the readings, Anne Bogus looks at a couple of authors that we are familiar with in Nicholas Carr and Clay Shirky. Nicholas Carr talks about how technology is ruining society, while Clay Shirky talks about how it is saving us. And Bogus says that both of these are easy conclusions to, technology, but he also understands that there are positives and negatives to technology, and that we should look into all the different elements that each medium provides us with. He uses video games as an example, because we talk about violence in video games affecting society, but we must realize that there are all kinds of different video games, and they all have different messages, and in the end, Bogus just really wants us to eliminate overly general assumptions about a medium's property and context.